I grew up going to a small church where everyone was family, literally and figuratively. Everyone was everyone else's aunts and uncles. In some instances, I was actually closer with my aunts and uncles at church than I was with my actual aunts and uncles. There, everyone shared not only aunts and uncles, but grandparents as well. This weekend I attended a funeral for a man that I knew for my entire life as Grandpa. He had just turned 100 years old. And to be honest, when I first heard the news, I was happy for him. He was joining God and his wife in heaven, and I was overwhelmed with excitement for him. Of course, then I sent my condolences to his family, who I love very dearly. I knew the man as a man who didn't talk a whole lot, but could definitely make himself heard when he wanted to. He was a man who loved his Jesus, his wife, and his family. But other than that, I didn't know too many intimate details. As his close friends and family spoke at his funeral, I began to see a more detailed picture. He spent his life as a senior taking the bus into Toronto and ministering to everyone he met. There were stories about him coming home with no socks or no sweater simply because he met someone who needed them more than he did. A hilarious story was told about how an entire grocery cart of groceries was stolen for him while he called for a ride. And then he cheerfully said that obviously God had used him to buy the groceries for the person who couldn't do it on their own, and they clearly needed them more than he did. He was described as loving, giving, welcoming, and happy. He never held a grudge or said a cross word, and he loved deeply. He loved his wife so much. There's a cute story about how they actually eloped in order to be together. As a child of God, he lived with an innate sense of community and family, giving without holding back. Sometimes to the chagrin of his wife, who would say, "What are we going to do about food to eat tomorrow?" And he would tell her that God would provide. And he always did. It seemed he lived his life based on Matthew 6, which, among other things, warns us not to store up treasures here on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, but to store up for ourselves treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. My favorite bit of this chapter, which I need reminding of often, is verses 25 to 34. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more than these? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin, yet I tell you that even Solomon, in all his splendor, was not dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grasses of the field, which is here today and tomorrow thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. I leave you with these verses, in the hopes that Arthur's long life of 100 years shows you how he took these principles to heart, and he can lead us by example. Until next time.